I'm MJ. This is 4 laps on ATYL Media, and we have an IndyCar race this weekend, so let's talk about what you need to know. This weekend kicks off the first race of 5 in a jam-packed July schedule for IndyCar. We are headed to Mid-Ohio for round number 10 of 17. Some quick little facts about the track. It sits on a whopping 330 acres. It is a 2.25-mile, 13-turn configuration, and the cars are going to turn 80 laps on Sunday for a total of 180.64 miles. And of course, this track is favored by many of the current IndyCar drivers, considering 9 of the current IndyCar drivers have previously won here. We have Pato O'Ward, who won last year, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta, Will Power, Alexander Rossi, Josef Newgarden, who has actually won here twice, Graham Rahal, and then Scott Dixon, who holds the record for wins at this course with 6 wins. Mid-Ohio is an important landmark in IndyCar's recent history, considering the 2024 running was the introductory race for the hybrid engines. And in turn, Scott Dixon was the first car to truly experience the turmoil that is the hybrid engine issues. He stalled his car on the formation lap, eventually was able to get it going. However, he ended up DNFing the race. But looking at last year's race and moving away from the hybrid of it all, Pato O'Ward was the 2024 winner. He had tough competition in Alex Palou, who was the pole sitter and at the time 2-time reigning champion of the IndyCar series. However, Pato O'Ward was able to successfully undercut him in the pits, which led to quite a few laps where we were just watching nose to tail Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward in the front, Alex Palou behind him, racing through lap traffic until Pato took the checkered flag less than half a second before Alex Palou did. Now, moving on to a little bit of a funnier piece of IndyCar Mid-Ohio history, and personally one of my favorite bits that they do on the IndyCar broadcast. This was actually the birthplace, I guess, of the hate cauldron. The hate cauldron actually spurred from an on-track kerfuffle between 2 Andretti cars in 2022. The teammates Alexander Rossi and Roman Grosjean collided with each other. Needless to say, there was some tension in the Andretti garage after the race. You couldn't pay me to be a fly on the wall. To be honest, you wouldn't have to. I'd do it for free. But this is where the hate cauldron was born, and you may be wondering, what is the hate cauldron? Which is a totally fair and appropriate question. The hate cauldron is a prop that occasionally makes appearance on the IndyCar broadcast. It's basically a giant pot with a giant spoon or ladle to stir with. This popped up first on the pre-race show to the Toronto GP, which was the race immediately following Mid-Ohio in 2022. James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell, they took jerseys. They had like an Alex Palou jersey and a Chip Ganassi like management button down. And then obviously they also had a Roman Grosjean jersey and an Alexander Rossi jersey. They put them all in the pot and then they stirred the pot. You get it. You get the joke. But the hate cauldron has made an appearance since 2022. We actually saw it last year for the Portland GP, I believe. And if I'm remembering correctly, all 3 of the Penske jerseys were thrown in there. So something to think about. But okay, that's all fun and games. Let's talk about some of the narratives that I'm personally following, and I think many people are following into the race weekend. Of course, I have to talk about Josef Newgarden, who has been having a less than Penske perfect year. To be fair to him, the entirety of the blame doesn't fall to him. Some of his races, he just ended up being at the wrong place at the wrong time. However, he is sitting 17th in points with only 1 top 5 coming from St. Pete, which was the first race of the season. And then also he's coming off of 2 consecutive P25 finishes. But as I said earlier, he has previously done well at Mid-Ohio. He has those 2 wins. So maybe this is going to be the race that gets Josef Newgarden back to Josef Newgardening. And then I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't mention the question that every IndyCar fan has on their mind every single IndyCar race weekend, which is, what's Alex Palou going to do next? Is this just going to be another victory to add to his many other ones? And then on top of that, is this going to be another win for Honda? Because Honda is the only engine manufacturer that we've seen a win from this year. Is Chevy going to get it together? Are we going to see a Chevy win this year? And if Chevy is looking for a win, is that win possibly driving in a papaya-covered car? is their saving grace going to be one of the Aero McLaren drivers? Because of course we have Christian Lundgaard, who is currently sitting 6th in the championship. He has 6 top 10s, 3 top 5s, and then we have Pato O'Ward, who has only recently been dethroned from 2nd place by Kyle Kirkwood. He's now sitting in P3. He has 1 pole, 4 top 5s, and 6 top 10s. And then of course he won last year. He won in a hybrid. So he's already beaten this track once on a hybrid. Could he possibly do it again? And then just to finish this off, while I was looking at previous Indy Next winners at this course, I found what I would call a sleeper pick. However, I don't know if I could get away with calling him a sleeper pick with his recent performances throughout like the month of May. And he just recently had a podium at Gateway, his first podium of his IndyCar career. So maybe he's not a sleeper pick. Maybe I can't get away with that. But Christian Rasmussen has previously won twice in Indy Next in 2022 and 2023. Also, last year was his first year. He was driving for Ed Carpenter Racing. He was a part-time driver. He drove at Mid-Ohio. He qualified in the top 10 in P9 and then finished in P7, which is pretty good, all things considered, considering not only was he a rookie, but they also tossed a hybrid engine at him that weekend. So there's my sleeper, not so sleeper pick to keep an eye on this weekend. But that's all you need to know. Headed into Mid-Ohio this weekend, be sure to tune into the race on Sunday on Fox